creepy executive producers, debilitating eating disorders, and a father she never knew. Jennette McCurdy entertained millions as the hilarious Sam Puckett on iCarly, but off-screen, her life was anything but funny. While many actors and actresses dream of stardom from a very young age, this was not the case for Jennette McCurdy. As a child, she was extremely shy and had no interest in appearing on a TV screen.
I was a shy, sort of uncomfortable kid.
She only became an actor because of her mother, Deborah, Jennette told People. My mom had always dreamt of being a famous actor, and she became obsessed with making me a star. Despite her shyness, 6-year-old Jennette allowed her mother to take her to one audition after another, all in an effort to ease the profound tension in the household. According to Jennette, Deborah was emotionally erratic and often got into physical confrontations with her husband, Mark. So when Jennette's career started to take off, it gave Deborah something else to focus on. This is why Jennette felt compelled to stick with it. She told People, "I felt like my job was to keep the peace, and I wanted to make my mom happy." Not only was Jennette's career controlled by her mother, but so was her body. As she recalled in her memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. In childhood, Jennette had to ask for Deborah's blessing to use the bathroom since Deborah didn't believe professional actresses took breaks during a working day. When an 8-year-old Jennette had no choice but to relieve herself, Deborah was right by her side to clean her afterward. Additionally, throughout childhood and until around the age of 16, Deborah gave Jennette showers and performed regular exams of her breasts and vaginal area, allegedly to check for cancer. During these exams, Jennette tried to focus her thoughts on happy things like Disneyland. Jennette told The Washington Post, "I now see it as conditioning, but at the time I thought, oh, mommy and me have a relationship that's so special. Like when you have a best friend and you have all these secrets and that feels like a form of intimacy. That's exactly what my mom did with me, only it wasn't friendship, it was abuse."
I absolutely felt violated.
Jennette was just 2 years old when her mother was initially diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Though she beat it, the cancer came back in full force in 2013, landing her in the hospital. Jennette reflected in her memoir that Dan Schneider, the creator of iCarly, pressured her into drinking on set, but she never really took an interest in alcohol. That all changed in 2013, however, when Deborah was in her final moments of life. Jennette and a friend embarked on a road adventure during which she drank for the first time on her own terms. Jennette loved the feeling and continued to down numerous shots of liquor on a daily basis. In fact, she was hungover when she got the news from her dad that Deborah was in her last hours. Despite a lifetime of abuse, Jennette still rushed to Deborah's bedside to say goodbye. However, it would be 3 more years before she was able to overcome her newfound alcohol addiction. Jennette said in her 2020 one-woman show, I'm Glad My Mom Died, "I had to kind of fight the demons on my own time. I went dark. I went off of social media. I quit acting. I had to make these pretty big life decisions in order to deal with my stuff, my life." In a guest piece for HuffPost, Jennette opened up about how Deborah controlled what she ate. Jennette explained that this behavior stemmed from Deborah's own struggles with anorexia as a teenager, which Jennette doesn't think she ever overcame. For a while, Jennette believed Deborah had her best interests in mind, but a pivotal moment at age 12 made her question this. After dance class, Deborah told Jennette that other dance moms were concerned about her weight and were thinking about getting Jennette professional help. According to Jennette, her mom then told her, "If anybody asks, just tell them you're eating normally."
I think my mom wanted to keep me as controllable as possible.
Jennette recognized that her mom's behavior was a problem, but her eating disorder still became deeply ingrained in her life. Jennette was at the height of her iCarly fame at the time, and in addition to measuring her thighs on a nightly basis, she would purge up to 10 times a day. It also didn't help that the smaller she looked, the more compliments she'd receive from stylists and others on set. Eventually, at the insistence of her sister-in-law, Jennette began the road to recovery. Though it wasn't easy, she ultimately learned to have a healthier relationship with food.
I believe that recovery is possible. I think it's really hard work.
As a child, Jennette had more on her plate than most should. From having to serve as the family's breadwinner to maintaining a thin physique, there was a lot she had to worry about. While these tasks were certainly toxic, they were achievable. Yet at one point, Jennette took on a burden that was downright impossible, keeping her cancer-stricken mother alive. She told Allison Stewart on the All of It podcast, "I had OCD as a child, and I also grew up Mormon. I thought my OCD was the Holy Ghost speaking to me. And I thought that the Holy Ghost was helping me to keep my mom alive, and if I didn't continue with my OCD rituals, my mom would die." Even as a teenager, Jennette thought she was responsible for her mom's illness. At this age, it was because she still thought her rituals were failing, and also because Deborah bluntly told her daughter that she caused the cancer. Jennette, who at that point still took her mom's words as mostly the truth, said it was a very layered, warped way of thinking. iCarly, Zoe 101, and numerous other hit Nickelodeon shows of the early 2000s all have one thing in common: they were produced by Dan Schneider. However, according to Jennette, the man behind some of the network's most iconic sitcoms wasn't so great behind the scenes. In her memoir, Jennette discussed several uncomfortable encounters with the controversial Schneider, like how he pressured her to wear bikinis. She told the Washington Post, "It was so commonplace, his behavior, and it was so accepted because everyone was scared of losing their job. I don't blame any of them, I get it. But it was really uncomfortable, everything that happened in a children's television series environment." McCurdy also said she was offered $300,000 from Nickelodeon to never speak about the Schneider-led environment. However, she turned it down. One of the many incorrect ideals that Jennette's mom put in her head as a child was that friendships with other girls were destined for disaster. She told Today, "My mom was always saying, men will never really know you and they'll hurt you, but women will know you deeply and then they'll hurt you. You tell me which is worse." Despite having these thoughts in the back of her mind, Jennette became true friends with her iCarly co-star Miranda Cosgrove, who she considered a sister during their years on Nickelodeon. Still, to McCurdy's dismay, the two went their separate ways after the show.
I love Miranda to pieces. I always will.
Though she had a new female co-star to befriend on Sam and Cat, Jennette never clicked with Ariana Grande in the way she did with Cosgrove. She felt overshadowed by the blossoming pop star, whom she felt the network was investing more time and effort into. While Grande was off performing at the Grammys, Jennette's world was limited to the Nickelodeon sitcom, a situation that she was not thrilled about. In 2014, photos of Jennette in lingerie were leaked online, just as Sam and Cat was on hiatus after its first season. The timing led many to believe that the shots were responsible for the break, and that the show would not return because of them. Jennette also didn't attend the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, even though she was up for one. She took to X to inform her fans that her absence from the awards show had nothing to do with the leaked pictures. However, a statement from Nickelodeon reiterated the fact that the pictures weren't a problem and didn't result in the hiatus. Ultimately, it was reported that Jennette's absence at the awards show was due to her allegedly receiving a smaller paycheck compared to Ariana Grande. McCurdy wrote in an X post, "No matter who or what you support, I believe in supporting fairness first." Still, Grande said in her own X post that she and McCurdy were paid equally for their roles on Sam and Cat. She wrote, have always been and always will be about equality and fairness." For most of her life, Jennette was under the impression that Mark McCurdy was her actual father. However, after her mother's death, Mark revealed that this wasn't the case, and that his late wife was unfaithful. Neither Jennette nor her brothers were Mark's kids, Jennette said on the Drew Barrymore show.
I remember feeling like I got the wind knocked out of me. My mouth was really dry.
Though Mark didn't know who Deborah cheated on him with, Jennette eventually found her biological father online and traveled to meet him in person. It was an eye-opening encounter, with Jennette learning that she came close to having a completely different life. Her real dad fought to get custody over Jennette and her brothers, but lost to Deborah. Fearful that his presence in their lives would be too much for them to handle, he quietly waited for Jennette to make first contact. Growing up, Jennette always had inklings that her mom's behavior wasn't normal, but without the shadow of Deborah hanging over her, she began to realize just how problematic her upbringing was and sought out therapy. After many grueling sessions, Jennette was able to fully grasp the fact that her mom was abusive. She told the Washington Post, "It was a very slow-moving process, excruciating in a lot of ways. Coming to terms with the reality of what my life had been was not simple. It was not painless. It was through consistent work and exploration that it became freeing and healing."
With my mom, I haven't gotten to a place of forgiveness.
For those who grew up avidly watching Nickelodeon's early 2000s shows, Jennette McCurdy was likely a pretty big part of their childhood.
You can only get this stuff at iCarly.com, baby!
But Jennette doesn't look back on those roles with any sense of pride. In fact, she's ashamed of them. She said on the Empty Inside podcast, "I resent my career in a lot of ways. I feel so unfulfilled by the roles that I played and felt like it was the most cheesy, embarrassing thing." After so many years of feeling less than fulfilled in her career, Jennette stepped away from acting in 2018.
I wanted to really focus on myself and my own life.
However, this doesn't mean she's opposed to ever appearing on screen again. She told E! News that if she's someday able to write a project for herself, she'd consider returning.
I think that would really be maybe one of the only ways I could kind of try exploring it again.
After nearly a lifetime of hiding her toxic home life from the public eye, Jennette wrote about her built-up trauma in the 2022 memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. Regarding the title, Jennette said that she wanted something attention-grabbing and humorous, but also something that would resonate with fellow children of abusive parents. It was a courageous move for Jennette to share such details of her life with the world, but she's had much support along the way. She said that her brothers were very understanding of her need to write the memoir. Her former Nickelodeon colleagues also voiced their praise. iCarly star Jerry Trainer told E! News.
I read it immediately and I talked with her, and it's heartbreaking, but it's also brilliant and funny, and I felt a lot of pride for her being able to speak her truth.
Additionally, in fall 2023, Jennette launched her Hard Feelings podcast, which features the author bringing humor to painful human experiences like anxiety and jealousy. If you or anyone you know needs help with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's national helpline at 1-800-662-HELP-4357.